Time to read that blog post. Oh god, this is so long and boring. I hate reading. Wish there was a faster way to get through this crap. Solution is an audio blog. Think audiobook before your blog. That means each blog post you do, you make a podcast episode out of it. Because that intro was basically talking about how our generation, readers, people just hate reading these days, and that basically kills that excuse. You can just make a blog post and then put a podcast link in your blog post, and then people say, here, listen to my podcast form of it so that you're on the go, you don't feel like reading, you still get value from me. But that doesn't mean you just be like, hey, what's up, you guys? No, you need to freaking be yourself. You need to actually be different, because yes, podcasting is a lot less saturated than blogging and YouTube, but people are on the go, and that doesn't mean they're just going to listen to the podcast and sleep. They're going to actually engage with it. Because there's some really good bloggers out there who don't need a podcast. They don't need a YouTube. They don't need social media, because they're so good at just telling stories in their blogs, and they're just good at making an imagination in someone's head that they don't need that. But that podcast creates that one-on-one connection. They hear your voice, they hear who you're about, they get your vibe, they get your aura, they just get what you're all about, rather than just that standard blog post. You're broadening your doors, you're broadening your horizons to other places. So easy as that. You just take a blog post that you've written, and then you choose a podcast site. The best one right now is Anchor. Anchor is amazing. I use that for my podcasting, and it's incredible because it pushes your platform to other sites, to other podcast platforms, and you basically just talk. You just talk through that blog post and put it into your podcast episode. Hold it. It's not that freaking easy. You're not just gonna, talk from your blog post and just shift it into a podcast episode. You actually have to put your personality. You have to put who you are, because that's how you stand out. People don't come for the tips and tricks anymore. So I share my life with you guys. Tips and tricks can only take you a long freaking way. People can easily just find something in Google and spit it out in a blog post, spit it out in a video, spit it out in any freaking platform. What's going to make you different is what you've been through and how you can share that. You probably listen to audiobooks, I'm assuming, and you don't hear them verbatim talk in front of the book and just put it in the audiobook. They actually put emotion. They bring life into the characters. They bring life into just the audiobook, so you feel engaged. A podcast, you have to be engaged, because you're talking. It's not a video, it's not a blog post. They're just listening to you. If you talk verbatim from your blog post into a podcast episode, people are just going to be like, why the freak am I listening to this? I can just read the blog post. There's no point. Think of it as a speech. Talk about who you are. Talk about your mission. But be sure to make sure you talk about that blog post, but put your personality first. And I'm not saying to quit blogging and saying blogging is dying. This is trying to show that we have some sort of competition against the podcasters and YouTubers, because we can shift what we do. We can shift it into other ways. You're probably assuming, how can this podcast drive more sales to my blog? There's this method I've been talking about a lot lately in some of my vids, and it's basically the private writing coaching. What that basically means, people talk to you privately, email you. It's a one-on-one thing where people say, I want all these things answered, I want this specific stuff labeled, and you give them that private writing, and then they pay you. And this means it requires a ton of energy, this requires a ton of work, and you have to be physically there. They have to charge more. You can just simply say, as you're speaking in that audio blog, you can just say, okay, this is, our podcast version of our blog. So if you feel like reading the blog post, you can read it, but this is just for the people that are busy. There's some busy people who don't have time to read, or just don't like reading. And they can listen to this and get some good value in there. There's this thing I kind of made up when being a blogger. It's not about being a textbook. It's about being an open book, which means you're vulnerable to your audience with value squeezed in there, which that basically means you are educating people, you're inspiring people, you're motivating people, you're entertaining them, you're impacting their life for the better. Speaking of audio blogs, I actually do have a podcast, and it's down below, and don't forget to listen to it. If you really, really are a busy beat writer, you don't have time to look at my weird face, you can listen to my podcast. But I really feel like people think there's more to than a strategy, that one tip that's going to help bloggers explode, and they think that if I had this course, I'd be happy, or if I had this one YouTube video, I'd be happy, or if I had this one thing, it would change everything for me. There is no one tip, because I truly believe that knowledge is free on the internet to learn, and people can use that. And the only real way that you're going to blow up on your blog is you have to test a bunch of crap, fail a bunch of times, be ready to muck up and freak up a bunch of times, be not perfect, show that you're learning, and just learn from it and move forward. Especially us teenagers. I'm 16. If you are another millennial teenager blogger looking into it, we have something that no one can steal this from us. No one can take this away from us. We have something called time. We can test a bunch of crap. We can mess up a bunch of times. We can give 10 times more. We can do all these crazy things that the adults aren't doing because we don't have to worry about paying bills yet. We don't have to worry about, keeping lights on. That means we have to give way more than the adults. Yes, when you do these podcast stuff and you're doing blogging, the online space can feel like you're so alone because you're not with people, one-on-one. That's why you need to focus on building a community, building a fan base, building an online family. Whether you guys have been through some things, having trouble growing, being cyberbullied, I really care about you guys' journeys as bloggers online, and I really just want to form a community, a friendship, a family, and if you want to get that with me, get that with us, be willing to subscribe if you want and comment what you're doing. What is your current blogging thing? What are you doing in your blogging journey right now? And I really do care about you guys and want you guys to make it. I want you guys to be confident and to go out there and be successful. Yeah, this is our online blogger family. I'm still learning. This is our journey. This is our life together. We're gonna cry together. We're gonna talk about things together. We're in this together, and hopefully you're gonna stay and continue to be a part of our journey because this is us. And I'm really here to be the voice for those, writers in high school who did nothing but write, and they were those shy people who thought that they couldn't speak in front of the class or they couldn't voice their opinions because they felt like everything they wanted to do was just right. And I was those students. It was hard for me to talk. It was hard for me to be my own person because the only time I could be myself was when I wrote my essays or when I wrote my poems in class. I was always that weirdo in class, and I kind of still am that weirdo. And maybe you were that person who wanted to make friends but couldn't really resonate with anyone because you were that avid writer. And teenagers in this world, in this generation, normally hate reading, and you couldn't really, voice what you thought or talk about what you thought because, we're not the biggest speakers. We're bigger writers, and I want to change that. I want bloggers to be heard, especially in the high school, in this generation. I want us to be heard, and I want us to change lives and to impact people and just share our mission, share what we've been through, and just share our vision. If you truly want your audience to trust you, you have to trust yourself. You have to blog from your heart. And when you're doing the audio blog, you have to speak from your heart. Don't even go by a script. Don't even use a script, because I always make a script for my videos, but I don't even use it because I just become a different person. I speak from my heart. I speak from my soul, and I just speak my beliefs, and I speak what I stand for and how I want to help you guys. And that's what you should be doing in your blog. Just right. And that sounds very cliche, but people can catch up on if you're fake or if you're real, and people aren't dumb. People can catch up on that very easily. So what you need to do is pull yourself together. Get rid of that ego, and whatever trends you want to start, go on ahead and do it, because chances are you could blow up, because any trend people will bandwagon. But yes, that's it. If you want to, if you stayed till the end, I want to say thank you. Like, you guys mean the world to me, and that may sound really deep, but I really truly do mean that. And I just want to be here to impact you and show that I want you guys to leave that 9 to 5, or I want you guys to leave that situation where you feel like you want to quit life. And because I've been there, and it sucks, it really does. And I just want to show you that you can make it, you can do this. And yeah, don't forget to go out there and crush it for me. And yep, don't forget to listen to that podcast, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.